Hello class, welcome to the next video lesson. Today we're working on section 3.7, using the metric system, and it can be found in your textbook on page 158. And I do suggest you get out your textbook, so if you don't have it with you right now, you might want to pause the video and get it out because you might need it in just a minute, so do so. But you need to write this down, choosing an appropriate unit. That's what we're about to do. That's the work we're about to do, okay? Now to do this, you will need to look at the chart. This is why I said you need to open your textbook up. You need to look at the chart on page 158 because it explains how these measurements work in the real world and what they give comparisons so you actually can compare them to something. All right, so for instance, choosing an appropriate unit. If we're told the height of a person, okay, it's going to tell us to pick a metric unit that would be reasonable when describing the height of a person. So metric units, as a reminder, are things like meters, grams, and liters. Now, liters refer to how much a cup could hold, or a bottle, like a 2-liter bottle. Grams refer to weight. Like if you look, when you are next to the grocery store, look at food, and you'll see that it includes ounces and also grams, usually in parentheses. So the height of a person, that's length. So we're talking about meters here. But what would we use? Would we use millimeters, centimeters, kilometers? If you have the chart, you should be able to get a really good guess what we're going to use. Using kilometers would be ridiculous because those are closer to miles. Using millimeters and centimeters is also ridiculous because those are very small measurements. A meter, though, measuring someone not who's a meter tall, but saying if we're going to describe their measurement, they might be 2 meters tall. That's reasonable. So meters is the answer for something like this that you would use. That's an appropriate measure that you would use. For instance, the capacity of a bathtub. When we talk about capacity, we're talking about how much it holds, like a cup holds water. So we're talking about what would you use for a bathtub? Would you use kiloliters, liters, milliliters? So what would you use? And I feel like in this case you would be using liters. Liters to describe it. Millimeters would it would take, the number would be too big. Wouldn't be worth using that number or that measurement to describe it. So that's a really simple part right there. It's just looking at it, using kind of some common sense. You're going to have to know, though, what these things compare to in everyday objects. So look at the chart, and you don't necessarily have to memorize it, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to memorize it. So, all right, converting between metric units. That's the second thing we're going to have to do in this section. And for instance, you're going to be given a problem like this where it says 4.78 liters is equal to blank milliliters. Now, in order to do this, you're going to have to copy something down from that you learned back in elementary, but it was that whole, to see all the units in the metric system, they had this little saying, the whole King Henry died unexpectedly drinking chocolate milk. There you go. That's your, all the way from your kilo to your milli, okay? And the U in the center stands for units, okay? So under units, you could go ahead and put, meters, meter, liter, and gram. So that's what the U stands for. It's going to be one of those. In this case, the U is going to be liters because that's what we're using. We're using liters. So if I have 4.78 liters, how many milliliters do I have? Well, if I start at liters, so I start here at the U, and I have to move over here to the milliliters. So I move over 1, 2, 3. Don't count the spaces, count as you move. Go 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay, you don't count where you're standing, you count each step. So again, 1, 2, 3. I moved 3 times to the right. Move the decimal 3 times to the right. And you will get 4,780. So 4,780. Okay? So again, I start at grams. I start here, but this time I'm going the other way. So I'm going up to the K. So I move 1, 2, 3. Again, I moved 3, but this time I moved to the left. So the decimal is going to be moved 3 times to the left. So I end up with, I'm going to put an extra 0 right here. That's the 0. My decimal is going to go right here, and I have 2 zeros, 5, 1. So you have 0.0051 kilograms. Okay? That's what this converts into. All right, last one we're going to take a look at. I have 200 centimeters going to millimeters. So I start here at my centa, I go over to my milli, I move to the right 1. So I have my decimal. You don't see a decimal here, but where is it understood to be? For a whole number, it's understood to be right here at the back. So you move back 1. So I end up with 2,000 millimeters, okay? We're going to do a few other things using the metric system, but that's basically it right there. So this is a very short lesson for today. All right, remember, take notes. If you don't understand something, put a question mark by it and ask in class. See you then.